They say retirement is supposed to be peaceful. Morning coffee on the porch, trimming hedges, waving at neighbors. But peace doesn't last long when a power-drunk HOA president and her band of wannabe cops decide your front yard is a battlefield. What started as petty fines turned into an all-out war, and let me tell you, these clowns picked the wrong veteran to mess with. Welcome to HOA Karen Chronicles. Comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story goes. I'm a retired Army veteran, the kind who's had enough action in deserts and jungles to last 3 lifetimes. After years of service, I thought I'd finally earn some peace and quiet. My wife Jessica and I bought a nice little house in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Birds chirped, grass stayed green, and neighbors smiled. That was until Lisa Thomas got crowned as the new HOA president, like some self-appointed queen of nonsense. The kind of woman who probably polishes her clipboard at night and dreams of citations. At first, it was tiny annoyances, random inspections, petty notices about lawn height, or some nonsense about the color of our trash bins. Then it escalated. We suddenly had HOA enforcers. Not police, not security. Just wannabe tough guys in polo shirts with fake radios, strutting around like they were auditioning for a bargain bin cop show. One fine afternoon, Jessica was outside watering the flowers. Nothing out of the ordinary. 4 of these clowns marched up the sidewalk, pointing out some ridiculous violations. Something about the hose being too visible or the flower bed not being in HOA approved alignment. My wife, being the angel she is, tried reasoning with them. But these dudes weren't interested in reason. They were thirsty for drama. One of them shoved her shoulder, not too hard, but enough to make me hear it from inside. I stepped out on the porch, calm as could be, and asked them, politely at first, to back off. Gentlemen, I said, you're not law enforcement, you're not inspectors, you're barely rent-a-cops without the rent. So how about you walk away? But of course, Karenville doesn't breed normal people. These goons doubled down, saying my wife was breaking HOA codes and needed to be taught a lesson. Taught a lesson? The last guy who said that to me had to drink his dinner through a straw. But I stayed calm, reminding myself I was retired now, not looking for a fight. Still, I had that gut feeling. These 4 weren't leaving until something ugly went down. And as they puffed their chests, I knew they were about to push past the line. That's when it happened. One of those oversized mall cop rejects suddenly cocked back and punched Jessica right across the face. My wife stumbled, grabbing the porch rail, and in that instant, every ounce of restraint I'd been holding on to went up in smoke. You don't put hands on my wife. Not in my house. Not on my watch. The first guy who threw the punch never even saw it coming. I stepped down off the porch like I was back in combat drills, caught him by the collar, and slammed him flat on the lawn so hard the sprinkler head dented. He wasn't getting back up anytime soon. His buddy thought he'd be the hero and came charging at me. Rookie mistake. A sidestep, a quick twist, and suddenly his arm was bent the wrong way while he howled like a siren. The third one figured he'd be smarter, tried to circle around and grab me from behind. Cute strategy, if I hadn't survived ambushes on 3 continents. I spun him into the brick wall of my porch so fast he looked like a cartoon character pasted flat against it. By now, the neighborhood had started peeking out windows, recording with phones. Free entertainment, live in high definition. The last guy, shaking like a leaf, pulled out his phone and shouted, "I'm calling the cops." I laughed so hard I nearly forgot to knock the dirt off my boots. "Go ahead," I told him, "but you're a little late." See, what he didn't know was that I had already filed a report weeks earlier. I'd been watching these HOA thugs harass women when their husbands weren't around, so I started keeping records. Jessica had even turned on the porch camera that morning, catching everything on video, the shove, the punch, the whole circus. So while this genius thought he was about to bring the law down on me, the law was already headed his way. Jessica, bruised but steady, clutched my arm and whispered, "They're finally busted." I squeezed her hand, watching those wannabe enforcers realize their little empire was crumbling. If you're enjoying the story so far, like and subscribe for more top-notch HOA dramas. When the squad car finally rolled up, I braced myself for the usual both sides nonsense. But fate had other plans. The officer stepping out wasn't just anyone, it was Hernandez. Captain Hernandez, back when we were deployed overseas. A man I'd trusted with my life more than once. The moment our eyes met, he grinned. Well, if it isn't the guy who used to steal all the rations. What'd you do this time? Break a few wannabe soldiers? I handed him Jessica's phone with the porch footage queued up. Hernandez didn't even blink after watching 30 seconds. Perfect, he muttered. before turning to the so-called enforcers now sitting on the curb trying to act innocent with busted noses and twisted arms. "You boys are done." He cuffed them on the spot while neighbors recorded the whole scene, cheering like it was a pay-per-view fight night. That's when Lisa Thomas, our self-crowned Queen Karen of the HOA, came storming down the street in her heels, screeching like a fire alarm. "You can't arrest them. They're my officers. Release them right now." Hernandez didn't even look up. He just said, "Ma'am, the only thing you're president of is this circus, and the tent just came down." The video went viral faster than cat memes. Suddenly, neighbors who'd stayed quiet started dumping evidence of harassment, extortion, and bogus fines these enforcers had been running under Lisa's rule. Mailboxes full of citations, threats for towing cars, even stories of them peeking into backyards like creeps. Desperate, Lisa tried to save face by releasing a public statement online. She called the enforcers community protectors and claimed they were only ensuring neighborhood safety. But the internet had already made its judgment. Side-by-side screenshots of her statement and the porch video exploded across forums. She became the face of HOA tyranny, and people mocked her with hashtags like #KarenKGB and had clipboard cops. Instead of sympathy, she got turned into a punchline. A week later, the guy who punched Jessica mailed us a handwritten apology letter, begging forgiveness and saying he was pressured by Lisa to act tough. Jessica laughed and pinned it to the fridge as a trophy. I filed a lawsuit so airtight even her lawyer probably wanted to switch sides. Lisa called for an emergency HOA meeting. I didn't bother showing up, but Jessica did, walking in alongside Hernandez like it was a tag team wrestling match. Witnesses said Lisa's face went from smug to ghost white as complaint after complaint was read aloud. By the end of the night, the HOA board had no choice. They voted to suspend all operations until further notice. Translation: Karen's empire had crumbled. And me, I finally got my peace. The end. Please like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns like this. Have you had a similar encounter with a Karen HOA or anyone in the HOA board? Let us know in the comments.